thanks to the support as a channel member, Dan Goldstein. Well, here we go then, folks. Fairly confident to say that this is the biggest match in the history of Wembley FC. It's the second round of the FA Cup. We're at home against Bristol Rovers. Let's go make all the money. Hello and welcome to part 34 of Wembley to Wembley. I'm Kevin. Coming up on today's episode, we have, of course, that FA Cup second round game against Bristol Rovers. Hopefully the replay, if we really want to get some money. But I imagine it'll be Uxbridge in the league and the money will be done. This is the before on our finances before we hit the Bristol Rovers game. Obviously, we are limited by our own 2,000 person capacity, which is going to sell out. So we'll do our gate receipt record. But if we want to make serious money, we are going to have to somehow find a way to take them to an away leg or an away replay. I know my terminology. They are struggling a little bit in League One, but that is League One and we're in Tier 8. So obviously they're going to absolutely thump us, especially because we're going into the game not in very good form. We talked about it in the last episode. We do have this ongoing thing in Football Manager. I think everybody suffers from it. When there's a big game on the horizon, no other game matters. And you can see we are in absolutely rotten form, leaving us down in 5th place in the Isthmian League Division 1 South Central. Although, to be fair, as we only had to battle bravely against relegation this year, even that, if we didn't win again this season, it's probably still a pretty good season for us. When you factor in the cup run and the money that we've made, it becomes a very good season, and it's still not even December. So it's still thumbs ups all around here. And this is going to be the team that we send out there for the game against Bristol Rovers. So it's going to be Clayton in goal, a back four of Chadder, Omar, Duffy and Wood, Macaulay and Burton Jones in midfield, Taylor, Sant and Best behind Anton Canerva up front. We have also, had we signed Alfie Atherton in the last episode? I'm not sure if we had. Either way, he's cup tied, so he's not going to be available for today's game anyway. But let's get the team submitted, get out there and take our medicine. If this is anything other than an absolute battering at the hands of Bristol Rovers, then I don't really understand Football Manager at all. We, as expected, have sold every single ticket that's available, which is, as usual, represented beautifully in the match engine by the ground being, I would say, about a quart full. But our capacity is 2,000. We are absolutely maxed out. Ignore these empty seats. They're inexplicable. And we've got the football, and it's Jamie Sant playing it back to Macaulay. Wouldn't it be a thing if we figured out a way to... I mean, really, we want the replay more than the win. Although, to be fair, obviously, if the win is on offer, we'll take the win. But really, it's a case of just trying to avoid embarrassment and then getting ourselves refocused back in on the league once the glamour of the FA Cup and being on the telly and all that is gone. Because I imagine, even though, again, Football Manager hasn't represented it as such, surely this is the game that's on the telly with a team from Tier 8 called Wembley in the FA Cup, making it all the way through to the second round. There is absolutely no way at all this game is not on TV. But we're not. We didn't get any TV money come through, which would have been very, very welcome, especially when we have such a small capacity and obviously can't make the money that you would make from an away fixture at this round. That added bonus of the TV money would have been really helpful, but 'twas not to be. And Bristol Rovers are kind of camped out in our area in this first half. We are struggling to get anything going, although there is a goal kick up this end at the moment. If we can take the ball off them, who knows what might happen. Any team at any level is capable of doing a piece of nonsense chaos at any time. And as they're knocking the ball back between their defenders and their keeper, you have to believe that if we're going to get anything, it'll come from a piece of nonsense from a situation like that. Unfortunately, it didn't happen, and they are now on the attack, just carving through our defenders as if they're not there. And Clayton makes the save. That's one of a number of good saves that he's already made in this game. Pushes it behind for the corner. And it remains 0-0. Half an hour gone, corner to Bristol Rovers. And this is better than what we could have hoped for so far. Yeah, we've not had a shot yet, but we've had 40% of the possession, or 42%, which isn't too bad. The XG for Bristol Rovers is over 1, and we've not conceded. They have only had the one shot on target, so I might have been a little generous to Clayton saying he'd made a number of saves. Obviously, that one from earlier on hit the post when I thought he'd saved it, but he did make the save in that previous highlight, and we've taken them to half-time at 0-0. That is the job halfway done. If we can somehow hold them again in this second half, we don't need to have any silly aspirations like trying to have a shot or anything like that. Try and keep the football as much as possible and stop them from scoring. Because if we can get back to their place, their average attendance is around about 10,000. Now, they wouldn't get the full 10,000 turn up for us in an FA Cup replay, but they could get 5, 6, 7,000, of which we get a share of that. So we would love that replay money. Sant bursts into the penalty area. This is our best piece of attacking play so far. And unfortunately, we give the ball away relatively cheaply, and it is Bristol Rovers on the counter-attack again. But we have Burton Jones coming across to cover nicely. And we're being very disciplined positionally today. We're doing quite well keeping them at bay. That's offside. Surely that's offside, referee. Are we just letting stuff like that happen? Are we going to get? We are going to get to see a replay. I feel like I've been robbed here. Can we? That looks offside from that angle as well. Are we going to get the tight offside replay where we can see the lines? We are. Right, tight offside. Show me the lines. So that's offside, yeah? Brilliant. After all this, we're going to be robbed by a poor goalkeeper, by a poor refereeing decision, because we still haven't had a shot in this game. The chances of us getting an equaliser are basically zero, and they've now gone below zero because we've given away a penalty. Our heads are gone. I imagine this is where Bristol Rovers go on and rattle 3 or 4 past us and have a lovely day, unless Clayton had saved the penalty. But all of a sudden, off the back of an offside goal that shouldn't have been given and a questionable penalty, all of a sudden we're 2-0 down. And that's that, I guess. Hopefully we get... I don't think there is any money that you get for being knocked out from the FA. I think it's just prize money each round. So I don't think we're getting a payout other than the match revenue from today. But obviously, 2,000 ridiculously, I guess, 2,000 fans squeezing into this ground for an FA Cup game actually only pays as if it's about 950. So even the gate receipt money isn't going to be as high as it potentially could have been because of the fact it's the FA Cup and you have to do the split revenue thing. We only get 45% of the gate receipt. So I don't think this is going to be quite the payday we hoped it would be. Unless we can pull off a miracle, and having not had a shot in the first 70 minutes of the match, if we can somehow score 2 goals and take it back to Bristol, that would be super duper. But I think Bristol Rovers probably have other ideas, and if we did start to show any kind of attacking intent, I imagine they'd just go and get a couple more. They're a professional team who play in League One, and they're not in a relegation battle. So, they're not even a team who are in absolutely rotten form. They're just a mid-table League One team, and they should be more than 3-0 up. I think that one actually has been disallowed. There we go. Finally, the linesman has discovered his flag. A little bit late, if you ask me. We did get a shot as well. I don't know who had it. It wasn't enough to qualify for a highlight, but we have got the ball again here through Sant and Burton Jones and back with Omar. That's a poor pass to Macaulay, and he couldn't probably get it under control. And we've put ourselves in a little bit of bother here as Bristol Rovers surge forward again. Shot from the edge of the area. That is 3-0 now. That's the first goal they've scored that didn't have anything questionable about it. And the FA Cup run, as much fun as it's been, is now over. Let's just make a last couple of changes. Give everybody the chance to play in the game. Why not? Get Dracos on as well. Give everyone there a little bit of fun on Match of the Day. If we're not live on the telly, surely we're first game up on Match of the Day. And it would be really lovely if we could score a goal here. Sant with the corner. Do we get a shot? It's Jacob Donovan has scored against League One opposition. And we are now back in the situation where if we hadn't have had the referee and the linesman against us, we'd actually be level here. Donovan scores into an open goal. That's a moment he'll always remember because let's face it, he's never going to play at this level, but he has got a goal against a team at this level. So he'll forever have his little iPlayer clip of him scoring on Match of the Day, which is jolly nice too. And can we just, do we need to see this game play out now? Can we not just have the final whistle? and get ourselves refocused back in on the league, because I fully confess, as much as the players have, I've taken my eye off the ball a little bit as far as league football is concerned, and not been that worried about the downturn in form that we've had. But when you factor in this defeat as well, which obviously this is a defeat that we expected to have, but it does mean we've only won 1 in probably our last 10 games in all competitions. So our league position that we're in currently is probably a little bit flattering, because that is a pretty rotten run. And we do need to turn that around. Our club atmosphere has dropped down to average after that one as well. So there is now work to do. Now we've been knocked out of the FA Cup. Somehow there is a load of money that's come in. So do we get 60 grand for getting knocked out? Is that what's happened there? There's no mention of it. I think we've been given 60 grand for getting knocked out. The gate receipts weren't anything to write home about, as you would expect. Oh, it was TV revenue. Ignore me. So were we on TV? We were on TV. How did I not notice that beforehand? We got the 60 grand TV money. You lot probably all saw that before the match, didn't you? And I'm a silly goose, but 60 grand of TV money, that'll do very nicely. And surely the board can stop whinging about repair club's financial damage. I'm struggling. Can I point out we've got more money in our bank account than we ever have at any other point in the save? The projections until the end of 2 seasons' time that we don't go back into the overdraft. I can't do anything about this. They took that loan out, not me. I can't do anything about that. But I have done this thanks to the cup run. You're welcome, board. Get me the new board in now. Goodness me. In the process of a board takeover. Can't come a moment too soon. This lot are wallies. So a few changes for the Uxbridge game then. Ugwu's going to come back in goal because our run of not winning matches does coincide with him being unavailable through injury. So as much as Clayton did make a couple of good saves in that previous game, maybe bringing back the goalkeeper that was in the team when we were winning is a good idea. Leroy is back from his suspension as well. Downey comes back in midfield. And Tipple is going to come in up front because Anton Canerva hasn't scored since September. So, yeah, his little run of wonderful form seems to have come to an end. Uxbridge are just below us as well. A win for them, especially with the games in hand that they've got, will probably put them above us and into the playoff mix. We really need to get ourselves back to winning ways if we've got any kind of serious aspirations of doing back-to-back promotions, which I will emphasise again, we don't need to do. It is not part of the goal, the plan for this season. The plan for this season was always just to survive. So I think we've already pretty much as good as done that. But it would be nice for the second half of the season for us to make it interesting by starting to win some matches again. That early season form that we had, and of course the cup run itself, have both demonstrated that when we're on a good day, we are quite capable of beating good teams. So there's no reason to believe we're not capable of getting a promotion. We just have to get the club atmosphere back up again. Maybe a fitness friendly here or there. I miss the olden days in Tier 9 when we used to have that month off at this time of year when we could fit a few friendlies in. We don't have any of that at this level, which I don't really know how. There's 21 teams, so it's one more team than there was in the league below. But I guess the fixtures are just differently arranged. One fewer cup to play in, I think. And it just means we don't ever have that big gap period where we don't play any matches. So we don't really have an opportunity to fit in a friendly against some local whipping boys to try and get ourselves back into some kind of decent morale. So what we need is a win in this game. We need a goal to scuff in off of somebody's backside, give us a scrappy 1-0 and start to build some confidence back so that we can take that into training and then hopefully take that into a run of form again. We've had one shot in that first half and missed. It doesn't really. We're not playing like a team who were on Match of the Day a couple of days ago, are we? We were live on the telly a couple of days ago, and now we can't generate a shot on target against Uxbridge in Tier 8. I love the inconsistency of football at this level, and Agwu's back in for his first game in 10 or 12 or so, however many he's missed. He's just palmed one straight into the path of the onrushing forward, and we're 1-0 down just on the stroke of half-time. The worst possible time to concede, which is lovely, and I feel like after a lot of feel good in the first couple of months of this season, we might be in for a second half of the season that's one of those newly promoted reality checks that you get. Because often what you find, especially when you're a really low reputation team and you get promoted, when you first get promoted, that first half of the season, everyone plays a rotated team against you because they see your low reputation and assume they're going to beat you. And it can take half a season for them to realise, oh, this team's better than we thought. They'll ignore the fact that we're in the top 3 after 10 games. It's like the AI of the game doesn't reassess it until the halfway point in the season. We've just hit halfway, and I imagine playing all these teams for a second time is going to be very different to when we played them for the first time, and we're going to come up against opponents that are actually trying against us this time around. Because remember, the media prediction for us was relegation for this season, and that is usually based on a combination of that club reputation and the average current ability of the squad. So the average current ability of our squad is one of the lowest in the leagues. We have got one of the worst teams in the division, but because we were playing against everybody's reserves for the first half of the season, we were able to build up some momentum, and momentum kind of feeds itself. It fed into the cup run. So we were able to turn it into 37 points in the first half of the season, which was a great return. Probably not going to do that in the second half of the season. I'm just setting you up with an excuse. I'm breaking the fourth wall of none of that is football tactics or football management discussion. That's very much Football Manager as a video game discussion and knowing how the game mechanics work. And yeah, we're now battling against the game mechanics for the second half of this season, and it could get messy. I warn you. We have got £500 a week of spare wage budget, although I am trying to keep that as low as possible. Apologies for the doorbell, boys and girls. That was Sports Interactive asking me to stop exposing their game engine. So we must stop talking about that, and let's try and win some football matches. As I was saying, we have got some money left in the wage budget that we can use to go and get some more players. But with the board whining the way they've been whining about me not taking the club finances seriously, I'm kind of bracing myself for them to reduce the budget at some point. They'd done it by this point last year. They haven't this time around, presumably because the club balance is still looking pretty healthy. But for whatever reason, even with that taken into account, they're still whinging. So I don't even know how to please them at this point. We need that new board to come in, and then we can sneak in some more players and hopefully drag ourselves up the league. But because we've got pretty much enough points to be safe on the board already, I'm kind of planning on using the second half of the season as a way to churn through some of these players who just aren't going to be good enough. You might have noticed Russ Eddy has a bid for him at the moment. He's a guy who's now 20 years old, still only showing us 1 star of current ability. Although he has his flashes of brilliance, he's never been consistent enough to hold down a first team spot. And with us having very limited facilities at the club, we're obviously not going to develop players like that. And we've already scrapped the youth system, and I think we're in the process of scrapping all of the youth players. Canerva is the only one who's showing any kind of ability. And like I say, he hasn't scored forever, but we've already got rid of Sean Martin, Dom Pearce. They've already left the club. Antwi's been gone for a couple of years, who was one of the original stars of the youth team. And I think Russ Eddy and probably Canerva might be on their way too, as we continue to replace this team of tier 9 youth players with tier 8 journeymen and loanees from slightly higher up the pyramid. That was a lovely goal, by the way. It's probably going to be too little too late, but if we've got players with that in their locker, it is a little bit frustrating that we've lost the game there, because where was Taylor doing that earlier in the match when it would have actually made a bit of a difference? We're throwing men forward for the last couple of minutes, but it's not going to be enough. And I think we have fallen out of the playoff spots for the first time all season. We'll just confirm that on the league table. And yeah, it'll be fine. Right, we're going to get some games played now, because with all the FA Cup matches, we have spent 3 or 4 episodes getting to the start of December on this season. So we're over halfway through the season. We'll probably have a stop about halfway between now and then the end, and probably finish mid-table. That's my prediction. And hopefully you get to meet some new signings in the next episode. If you've enjoyed that, please make sure you leave a nice big thumbs up on there for me. Subscribe to the channel for daily Football Manager videos. And thank you very much for watching.